Everything points to the events happening at some point, not if but when. We have learned from history that civilizations do not last forever, and current patterns indicate that our civilization is about to undergo an irreversible transition. How quickly may these circumstances deteriorate to the point that they would cause a radical change in society? Let us take a look at some reasons for the failure to modern society. Number 1 is politics. Belonging is as fundamental to a human as oxygen and water is to most animals. It feels nice to be surrounded by others who share your interests and values, whether you're a member of a political party, a religious organisation, a scout troop or a sports team, as a spectator or player. That need has been elevated to an absolute by politics. Conservative or liberal, you are either with us or against us. There is no longer a middle ground in politics because every issue raised thus far will be significantly impacted by the results of any election. The outcome of a political campaign has an immediate impact on corporate funding, lobbyists, religious leaders and the media. The basis for democracy and the essence of politics. Through misinformation, fear and intimidation, politics has changed into competition for power. But what is far worse is what we accept is if the way things should be, too fearful to speak up, terrified to upset the apple cart, too intimidated to do anything rather than pick a team or give up completely. The US has never been more polarized, which is a term that basically says that in the case, feelings dictate opinions more so than reason. In the name of those special interest groups that assist in electing those lawmakers that support their agenda, the essence of authentic governmental representation has all but vanished. But we keep up with it. At the expense of genuine advancement, we participate in the game, choose a side, and keep the line no matter what. Number 2 is morality. The mother of all anxieties is what causes us to stop in our tracks and stare at a vehicle accident that generates high news ratings because it gives us a preview of what is to come and what we, no matter how intelligent or wealthy we are, cannot control. We are encouraged to feel that it is on our minds, whether we identify as religious or not, and it is hurtling down on us at Mach speed. But it isn't, not really, that quickly. You'll see how much time we actually had after spending an hour with my mother-in-law. The primary focus driving religion, commerce, technology, etc. is fear of death. Death is occasionally experienced, but it isn't the majority of the time, and self-aware species, we don't like it. As a result, we develop coping methods to counteract our ideas of mortality, either by working to increase our longevity or by completely eradicating it by inventing the idea of hereafter, which is the carrot of our religious underpinnings. We no longer remember to enjoy the time we do have since it has become such a big fixation, a fact that is frequently only realized after it's too late. We are so fixated on the one thing we generally have no control over, which is sort of comical. Undoubtedly, a typical human reaction, but one that can be moderated by appreciating the importance of the life we have right now, rather than concentrating solely on the potentially finality of our imminent death. Number 3 is losing our religion. The most pervasive source of false information is religion, which is frequently founded on ignorance and spreads by intolerance and terror. Now, religion is becoming philosophy in my nation, which is where it belongs. The government of our country forbids the instruction of religion in public schools. We had always gotten our moral education from the school or the church, so this temporarily filled the gap. People are now required to complete a course called Religion and Ethics that covers all religions without focusing on any in particular. They look at gods, religious culture, customs, dress symbols, etc. This significantly reduces ignorance, which encourages tolerance between various racial and ethnic groups. Because no one is excluded, regardless of your beliefs or lack thereof, the course also offers moral precepts that we should abide by as civilized society better than religion ever could. Number 4 is technology. More technological progress has occurred in the last 50 years than in the previous 5,000, and is expanding exponentially. We don't examine the possible short and long-term impact that new technology can have because its primary objective is to profit, just as immediate potential for outcome. How frequently have we only recently come to understand the detrimental effects of new technology? How many times have we been aware of the potential harm that a single new product could bring about yet nonetheless allowed it to be released? Our social structure is also radically changing, which is both a blessing and a tragedy. Despite this, our desire to profit always seems to surpass our need to carefully consider the risks associated with these rapid advances in technology. In a society where texting has supplanted face-to-face conversation, how is this harming our capacity to communicate effectively? How will this influence our capacity to interact socially in the actual world, to comprehend one another, and to comprehend both our immediate and distant neighbours? Our capacity for effective communication appears to be slipping in favour of a simpler, less invasive method. However, as long as people keep updating their phones, browsers, and Facebook statuses, nobody appears to be interested in learning about the potential negative effects that technology may be having on our society and our capacity to fully comprehend one another. It's just not profitable. Number 5 is rising financial inequality. The technocratic elite of the world find refuge in San Francisco. At upscale restaurants in Fog City, communities like Pacific Heights, executives from Google and Facebook frequently mingle with senators and congressmen. But the homeless, who symbolize the social and economic antithesis of the tech elite, are quickly taking over San Francisco as their home. The ideal symbolic embodiment of everything that is wrong with the current world-class system is San Francisco. The affluent in San Francisco finance organized giving programs that only serve to perpetuate the idea that striving for anything is pointless, rather than using their unlimited fortune to create jobs that will provide the homeless with purpose and nutrition. The elite in the world do not want to aid common people. Its purpose is to produce a perpetual underclass of hungry, ignorant, and addicted people. The elite will be free to eradicate this uninformed underclass at their leisure once the middle class has been destroyed. But not deceived, the elite seeks to replace them too, as soon as robots are able to perform the menial tasks that are currently carried out by the underclass around the world. Immigrant populations are set to replace these deliberately impoverished citizens in different parts of the world. Number 6 is drug abuse. The British Empire introduced opium to China in the middle of the 1800s. The British had nothing to exchange for popular Chinese items like Chinese and tea, so were extremely popular in Europe. So the colonial authority devised a plan whereby they would profit handsomely from selling Indian opium in Chinese port cities, while also promoting the addiction of thousands of Chinese people to a potentially lethal drug. Up until a few years ago, this design of medicine was mostly taken by the world's economic elite. Since then, it has suddenly become commonplace all around the world. Increased opioid use has had terrible impacts on the people around the world. Because of their parents' addictions, more kids are placed in foster care and more people are fired from their jobs. Older white folks who have received legal prescriptions for these medications make up the majority of the opioid epidemic's victims. Opioid addiction is tearing apart the society at the same time. Conventional meaning structures are being replaced with the absolute necessity of the high as traditional ways of creating dopamine in the brain, such as career success and family relationships, are supplanted by drugs. Number 7 is climate change. Climate change has made it harder for both people and wild animals to survive. Droughts that are more frequent and extreme storms, heat waves, rising sea levels, melting glaciers and warmer oceans can all directly injure animals, destroy the habitats they rely on for survival, and have a disastrous impact on people's way of life and communities. Dangerous weather occurrences are increasing in frequency or severity as climate change gets worse. People in cities and towns all around the United States are currently experiencing the effects, which range from coastal storms and flooding to heat waves and wildfires. We must drastically reduce global carbon emissions if we want to prevent the worst emissions climbing from ocean acidification, sea level rise, and increase in the intensity and frequency of extreme weather events must also be considered. The governments must take the lead in addressing the climate crisis. Businesses have a duty to lessen their impact on climate change. What do you think about the decline of modern society? Do let us know your thoughts in the comment section. For more interesting stories, subscribe to our channel and do not forget to press the bell icon. Goodbye.